Just getting to the gym after a day of work. Can't wait to get this chest pump in. Good old Konquer Fit. Heck yeah. All right. Yo, man, what's going on?
Yo, what's up, brother?
Hey, getting ready to hit this chest day.
Nah, bro, it's leg day.
Fuck, man.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Konquer Fit Podcast, episode number 3. Once again, I am Chad Kratz. This is Mr. Jeff Brandt, my co-host. You might notice a little upgrade here today. As Adam Sandler would say, I have a microphone, so you will listen to every goddamn word I have to say. Pretty gloomy day here in Iowa, so we decided we'd pop in and...
Nothing better to do on a Sunday than maybe shoot another episode of the Konquer Fit Podcast.
Absolutely. So today, we're going to talk about why listen to us.
Yeah.
What makes us so interesting?
Yeah, why should you give us your time when there's hundreds of thousands of different podcasts out there, especially around the fitness aspect, right? So
Yeah.
And I think, we're going to dive into a little bit today more about Chad's background.
Yep.
And really just get into why us. Why should you give us, 20, 30 minutes of your day once a week to just kind of tune in and hear what we got to say. A couple of guys out of the Midwest, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely. So I think the big thing is we just kind of touched base on it there. Why listen to us?
Yep.
And I think what we're aiming for is, fitness tips for the average Joe.
Absolutely.
Average guy. Jeff, you are a normal guy working a, corporate job.
Yep.
You're not competing in CrossFit. You're not a power lifter. You're not going to the Olympia tomorrow.
Let me check real quick. No, that'd be no.
You gonna clear your schedule?
No,
You don't want to go
no,
compete there? All right.
I don't
So
think anybody wants to see me up on stage on thong, Chad, but
you heard it here first, guys. If you want to see Mr. Jeff Brandt up on stage with a thong, please send your cash, credit, check cards to.
we take Venmo too. Folks.
We take Venmo, Cash App. No, all jokes aside, fitness tips for the average Joe.
Yeah.
I'm a pretty regular guy myself.
Absolutely.
I don't compete in anything, but I want to live a long life and live it strong.
Mm-hmm. So everybody has these comparisons, right? And something that I heard a long time ago is that comparison is a thief of joy, right? So
Absolutely. It's one of my staple comments.
I broke up there a little bit. It's comparison is the thief of joy, right? So if you look on Instagram, you look on Facebook, whatever social media platform you're on, and you see all these influencers that are posting videos of their workouts, right? You see guys and girls that are benching a lot of weight, deadlifting a lot of weight, squatting a lot of weight, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's led to a lot of folks that they want to try to get to that point.
Sure.
But let's be realistic, right? Like, not everybody has that in them. You can work your ass off, you can get there. But the reason why we think you guys should tune in and watch us is because we're average, right?
Yeah.
And we don't mean that in the sense of the word that, we're just...
We don't mean mediocrity.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
We still take our lifts serious. It's still methodical. It's still try to get the best form that you can have, right?
Yeah.
Try to get a pump in.
And try to keep your nutrition stable. Not, you don't have to go crazy.
But we're not here benching 405, 495 every week, right?
Yeah.
So this, we kind of want to just dive into a little bit more about us, especially Chad's background, and what makes us, average. And getting to a point where you guys can tune in and see what we're doing, and you can replicate that in your own gyms.
Absolutely.
Right.
And maybe get a tidbit here and there of what does fitness look like for someone who isn't in competition phase, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's someone who's just trying to just live long and be healthy and strong and all those things, right?
Absolutely.
Like, because that's ultimately the goal for me. If I can live into my 90s and still be strong, I'm good with that. Like that's solid for me.
Yeah, and that's the end goal, right?
That's the end goal.
I want to be able to, the end of my days, I still want to be in control of myself.
Absolutely.
Right? I don't want to be pushed around in a wheelchair. I don't want to be fed through a tube because I can't move. Like, I want to be able to have as much freedom as I can for as long as I can.
Yeah.
Right?
Especially when you look at the data, right? The data shows that strength and muscle mass are the ultimate things for longevity and a good existence, right?
Yeah.
So I think a big thing is, we touched on a lot of kind of your back history of your weight loss journey and what led us ultimately here to this podcast. I think the other thing there, I think my fitness journey was opposite of yours.
Yeah.
We've
had this conversation, and Chad's gonna dive into that, right? But just give you all a little precursor. I truly believe, and I think there's probably a little bit of science out there. Chad, you can tell me shut up, tell me I'm wrong, but I truly believe it's easier to be overweight and gain muscle and lose weight than it is to be skinny and to put on muscle.
Yeah, I would say a lot of the stuff out there is holding true to that. I mean,
not impossible.
Just
right?
like when you reach a certain point of weight loss, it's harder to lose weight because, how do you tip the scale and tip the needle there, right? You already got a lot of lean body mass. It's harder to get more.
Yeah.
Right. When it's like when you watch like Biggest Loser or something like that, and they have, these people dropping 20, 30, 40 pounds every week, and it's like, well, yeah, but they also weigh 400 pounds. Like that weight's gonna, when you're doing what they're doing, which is, they're getting killed
it's crash
for hours a day, and then hitting those hard diets. Of course, you're gonna drop that much weight in that short amount of time. But as you just stated, yeah, my journey was the inverse of yours. So when I graduated high school, I was a $128 soaking wet.
And how tall are you?
I'm 5'10".
Okay,
so
put that in perspective.
Pretty thin.
Yeah.
I actually little more background here on me. So I was a 2-year all-stater in choral music. Okay, so
he sings all the time in the gym, folks.
I jam. Okay,
damn,
it's real light. But my picture is still up in my high school, and I went there for some type of event or something that was there, and I saw that picture, and I was like, damn, my neck is skinny. Shit. How is that thing holding my head up? Like, it's ridiculous. Because now I look at myself now, and I'm like, how? Like, it's just, you see it in picture form, and then you're like, whoa, wait a minute. And to put that into perspective for you, I'm 190 pounds now.
Yeah.
Totally different than, where I was in high school. And, I've earned every pound that I've gained.
So, let me ask you, Chad. Graduated high school, $128, $125.
Yep.
What led you down this path? How did we get from, and let's not get to A to Z, let's go from, maybe A to D, right?
Yeah.
Because you started this journey 15 years ago?
So, consistently, I've always kind of worked out, and I'm going to air quote that.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, I didn't know what I was doing. I did bench press, leg extensions, bicep curls, and tricep push downs. I think those are the only things I ever did. I didn't know any better. I definitely couldn't, bench 2 plates. Like, it was nothing like that. It was more of like growing up in the generation that we did, with your Van Dams, your Stallones, your Arnold Schwarzeneggers, I always wanted to be bigger than I was, because I was a little guy. So, I graduated high school and, again, kind of here and there, hit and miss with the workouts. Fast forward to about 15 years ago, and I met some of the current friends that I have now, some of them also being trainers now. But at the time, they were just avid workout people, and they're like, man, just come with me. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. To put that into perspective, my best friend, Dub, literally looks like he's chiseled out of stone. And so I went and did an arm workout with him with his fucking 19-inch arms. And I got in my car, and a half hour later, he left the gym, and I was still sitting in my car because I couldn't move my arms. He's like, what are you doing, man? I was like, the only thing I can reach is my phone. I can't turn the steering wheel. So I'm just going to sit here until I get feeling back in my arms. But that was kind of the beginning of the consistency.
Yeah,
since then, I have not probably missed more than a couple days in the gym in 15 years.
Okay.
2011-ish, 2012-ish is when I started thinking I wanted to do something else. I was tired of working retail. I was tired of working construction. I was tired of working regular jobs and knew I wanted something different. The original route was to go PT. But after getting into it, so I completed my associate's degree, transferred to Ambrose, where the goal was still PT.
Yeah.
My advisor had talked me into. I didn't even think I could get into Ambrose, but at this point, my grades had really gone up. You know, when I was younger and went to college, my grades were crap because I didn't really care. But going back at 27 years of age, I was much more serious about it. I had a much more stake in the game. So I took 3 semesters of 19 credit hours plus working full time.
Yeah, that's
just to get it done, you know. And so I transferred. I ended up getting into Ambrose, and I was going that route. I don't know if you know, but there's some weird fucking prerequisites for PT. Like
I do.
Physics 2. I'm like, this is wavelengths and frequencies. What the hell does this have to do with anything with the human body?
For all our PTs out there that listen to us, you guys understand what we're talking about. There are some classes that you just got to ask yourself, why the hell am I doing?
I appreciate you for passing Bio 2 with flying colors, and it's plant biology.
Yeah.
You guys excel.
Nonetheless, we'll get back to Chad.
But so, getting into that, some of the prerequisite grades for me to get into PT school weren't the best. So I would have had to take like Physics 2 again and that kind of stuff. And, at that time, I was closing the gap on 30, and I really just wanted to get into something. And even the whole draw to PT was because I wanted to do something with healthcare, but I didn't want to deal with blood and guts and nasty shit. So I was like, let's go outside of the body. Outside of the body is good. Let's do that. So I ended up finishing Ambrose in 14 with my bachelor's in exercise science.
Okay.
I did apply to PTA school, which is a different path. It's an associate's degree at Blackhawk. Because the program is so cutthroat. I mean, they only take 5 people from the state of Iowa. I didn't get into that program. So, I started thinking like any 30-year-old would do. Okay, man, I got to start working. I got to get something done. And an opportunity came up to work for a chiropractor here locally, which I ended up working for 6 years doing exercise rehab as far as that was concerned. So I was teaching classes. I was working full-hour days, and then I was going back and training clients at night. So I was literally starting my day 4 a.m., working till 6, going back to the gym and training clients till 7, 8, 9, and somewhere in between there I was still working out. My workouts, I believe at that time, were still at night. It was just easier to get in.
Yeah.
Mornings just weren't going to work. So I did that for years, and shout out to my guy Seth Ross for giving me an opportunity to train under his gym. When I first got out, he gave me a home to kind of start this whole thing going. But since then I've just been consistent, man. I've tried to really focus on just getting stronger and getting better at lifting and better at technique and better at taking care of my joints and my health. I have a lot of imagery around me that are not very healthy. My grandmother, I love her to death, but my grandmother is diabetic. She has COPD. She's still kicking, 89 years old, but her health is not great. And I have a lot of examples of health around me that are not great. And I just know that wasn't what I wanted. So the end goal for me is always to try to be better than the generation before us.
Absolutely.
So then in 2019, I started Konquer Fit as just a personal training company. So you probably met me shortly after that, actually, probably 2020-ish.
No, it was in 2019, late 2019.
Late 2019.
Yeah, late 2019.
So I started this just as a PT company. I decided to take a different route from my full-time exercise rehab job, and I resigned from that position. I did that on March 2nd. On March 12th, gyms closed due to the pandemic.
Yep.
Which was super awesome. I didn't freak out at all. I freaked out a lot.
Yeah, well,
I was like, I don't have no money coming in.
All that planning, all that, preparation just literally went to nothing. Right?
Just went out the window. So it ended up being fine. I ended up, I only had one client that dropped off at that point. Everybody else stuck with me through that. And then here I am 5 years later, almost 2 years into a brick and mortar, and still trying to, be under the same ideals that got me going.
Yeah.
Since then I've gotten some functional training certifications. I just finished up a post-operative certification. So I just finished up a post-operative certification by Barbell Rehab. Shout out Barbell Rehab. Super, super cool stuff, man. Really, I don't know if you've ever had this feeling, but something that just lights the shit out of your brain. And for me, that's movement.
Yeah.
I start looking at people's movement, and you've seen me do this. I'll drop down to the floor, and I'm looking at their ankles, and
Yeah. Sometimes you're like, I'm gonna kick this motherfucker in the face.
Yeah, but it's weird, but
nonetheless, so if it corrects it, right?
Yeah. And so, I have a lot of clients that have not necessarily like yourself that are just out of operations, but have had several throughout their lives, and some of my clients are older and even still gearing up towards having some type of orthopedic surgery.
Yeah.
So I just found it really interesting. They had a Black Friday deal going on, and I'm like, this is something that really interests me. So I dove into it. So I just finished it the other day. Really interesting stuff, man.
So what's the plan with this, right? And we can talk about how it's interesting, but how are you going to utilize this? Right?
So
and not only that, two questions, right?
Yep.
We're gonna make you think today, Chad.
Oh, shit.
How are you going to utilize that?
Yep.
And how are you going to put it to practice with your clients?
Absolutely. So let's start with what am I going to do with it?
Yep.
Okay, so now the goal is to reach out to PTs because as well as I do, insurance covers so many PT visits. But generally after that, most of the population that gets to the end of their PT visits, they're still not ready to just jump back into the gym. It's kind of most of the time PT kind of, if I tell my PT, yeah, I can do this and I can reach up, it's it's just good enough. Okay, you're good to go. You can lift your arm over your head, it's good enough. Whereas, which might be the case.
Yeah.
If you're just doing general stuff, that might be the case.
Depends on what you're
But if you're still wanting to do CrossFit, if you're still wanting to lift, and in full range of motion, then we still have some work to do after that. And I think there's a good gap there that I can bridge. And that's getting in with some PTs and saying, hey, do you guys have any of your clientele that, their visits are up and you're done doing what you're doing with them? Can you send them my way? Yeah. And let's keep them going and let's get them healthy. And, and again, it's for the betterment of the community.
Yeah, and it's working together, right? So it's bringing healthcare professionals together to try to figure out a relationship that you can have with people in the community to, like you just said, better the community.
Yeah, it's front end and back end of healthcare, right? I mean, I would say PT, medical doctors, they're kind of back end. You see them after you've had the problem already.
Yeah, I mean,
hopefully you see me before you have the problem.
Yeah. And I talk about the guy that I call my brother, my best friend all the time, who lives out in Arizona, right?
Yeah, Mr. Ed.
And you've met him.
Shout out Ed.
Many a time. Shout out Ed. And Ed will be the first one to tell you he wishes he could have more time with some of his clients, right?
Sure.
But because of how things are built, unless they're going to start paying cash for certain things, he can only see him for a certain amount of time.
Absolutely.
Now, if he could work with someone like you and say, hey, you know what? You're done with what I can provide for you, but if you're looking to go a little further as far as your physical fitness, I want to pass you off to this guy.
Yeah.
Right? So I think...
And that's what this certification bridges the gap on. It tells you how to work with that post-operative client who might be 6 to 8 weeks out of PT but still don't have full range of motion.
Yeah.
So how do you work with them and not hurt them and not mess up what the surgeon just did?
Yeah, I think we're going to put that to practice here real soon.
Yeah, we're gonna do some stuff on you that I think is going to be very helpful. I really some groundbreaking stuff, honestly, in my opinion. I honestly was doing some of it to myself this morning when I prepped for my own workout. And it's some of the stuff we're going to talk about. It's getting into the McGill Big Three. For low back pain and some other kind of preparatory movements that we can do before we lift that helps set us up for success.
Yeah.
Right? So, obviously the goal is working with my clients. You've met a lot of them, and some of them have already had orthopedic surgeries. Some of them are probably maybe a year away from some orthopedic surgeries, due to some knees and some things not, having meniscus and things like that keep those pads healthy.
Yeah.
Right? They're kind of bone on bone. So it's going to be helping them get towards surgery, right? So keeping them healthy up to that point. And then realistically, when they come out of that surgery and out of their PT, now I can really help them stay on track and really know the guidelines of how, to work with that client and not hurt them.
Absolutely.
Total knee replacement surgeries, they want you full weight bearing after 2 weeks. That means that 2 weeks they're working on getting your knee flexed and extended.
There ain't no just sitting in the recliner watching Netflix.
Ain't no sitting watching Netflix. And then, and again, you got to think about how that's protective of the joint, right? Mm-hmm. The biggest thing with getting joint replacements is people think, oh man, I got to protect it. I got to do nothing because I want this joint to last the rest of my life, which is not the case. We want to strengthen those muscles around the area to keep that joint more healthy and more intact.
Get some blood flow going, right?
We'll get some blood flow, and if my muscles are stronger, I'm holding that joint better together.
Yeah.
Right? So that's kind of where I'm going with that, man. I think it's going to be reaching out to some PTs. I have some connects that I'm going to reach out to and kind of see where that goes.
I'm still trying to get some asshole to move back from Arizona, but that's a different topic.
Well, yeah, we'll yell at him later. We'll voice call him in.
Yeah, pretty much, right? So no, I mean, so we kind of brainstormed a little bit. We try to keep our podcast ad lib, right? Like we don't want to go off a script per se. We want to have a general topic because we want this to be, very authentic, right? But I was thinking about a couple things last night, and I knew we were talking about this, right? So you just talked about certification. Right?
Yeah. So
what's next for Konquer Fit, right? Where do we see Chad in 5 years, and then where do we see Konquer Fit in 10 years, right? So let's talk about kind of that long-term goal, because I think what we're looking at is, you really want to try to grow your business, right?
Absolutely. I think that's the goal of any business.
You want to be more successful. And the one thing that I've appreciated about you in terms of Konquer Fit is, it's your livelihood, right?
Yeah.
But I've seen you do things that it doesn't benefit you anything in terms of money. It only benefits your reputation. Right?
Sure.
So, I talk about myself. First time that you helped me with a couple of lifts or whatnot, and I just had that instant connection, I was like, man, this guy really cares about just the movement, and he cares about people. It's not just a paycheck. And I've seen you do that with people that have stopped by the gym for a consultation, and you're talking to them. So what's next for Konquer Fit? Where do you go from here?
Man, you're just going to put it.
Absolutely.
Hold on, let me just get this brick off my back.
A little mind fuck this morning, folks.
Well, so obviously we have the brick and mortar. I've been here coming up on 2 years now.
Yep.
This facility is pretty small. Mm-hmm. But it's been home. I think the way I think about gyms is kind of different than I think most people would think about it. I think about it in the manner of anybody can put weights in a room. Mm-hmm. That doesn't make it a gym. Anybody can put trainers in a room. That doesn't make it a gym. I think it's the energy, it's the vibe. It's, I think about my gym as like a sanctuary. Like, it doesn't matter what your walk of life is. It doesn't matter what your political, physical aspects of life is. It doesn't matter. We talk about everything in here. Everything's open.
We do.
And you want to talk about a safe space. I don't think there's any more safer of a space than where you can just be you.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm all about authenticity. So the next goal, honestly for me, man, is I want to grow the brick and mortar. I want to grow that into a community of like-minded people. Mm-hmm. And, to do that, I need more space. I want to bring in some more trainers. I want to bring in some more amenities for my clients to utilize. But I want to give them the space to grow. Yeah. And myself the space to grow. So that's kind of the next big thing, man. I'm really looking towards what that looks like. And to remain profitable. As you just said, this is my livelihood. It does have to make financial sense.
Gotta make a little bit of money.
I can't help any of you guys if I'm, shaking out for change on the corner on the street here.
I'll throw some quarters your way.
You'd probably throw them at me. Let's be serious here. But that's where I see that going. Obviously, I'd like to grow the online sector. I think there's a lot of room for growth in the online training sector. Just because I still think a lot of that is just regurgitated programming. I think there's 1% of trainers out there that are still really doing good individualized online programming, but I think the rest of them are just kind of taking pre-built programs and selling them as their own. And
one shoe for everybody, right?
Yeah, and it just can't be that way. There definitely is our basics, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have our structure, but within that structure, some things have to change because somebody might not be able to do dumbbells because they don't have the control. Somebody might not be at a barbell squat. So how do we get them there? And if they can't do it at all, how do we keep their legs strong without doing those movements? So I think there's still room for individuality there. But yeah, man, Konquer Fit as a whole, man, I think it's grown exponentially already to more than I thought it would be, honestly. I was very naive at first. I wanted to just run a PT business and call it good, and then some things happened and I got kind of forced into a corner where I kind of had to go a different direction.
Yeah, it was literally the mad minute, right?
Oh yeah, it was 30 days of hell.
Yeah, I think you skipped over that when we talked about moving into the when you moved in the brick and mortar. We didn't talk about that in any of our previous episodes, and so we should touch on that a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Because that also goes back into, how you were still maintaining your workouts and what you were doing with your diet and, everything else.
So during that time, I was a contractor. I was paying a fee to utilize another gym's area, training all my clients, and their only other prerequisite was that my clients had a gym membership. So I did that. All of a sudden, they decided to hire a consultant.
Yep.
And in the 30-second conversation I initially had with this guy, it was compliment insult every line. Like, I'm going to compliment you, but I'm going to insult you at the same time. And kind of insulting my intelligence as well. Mm-hmm. Telling me that me being there was hurting their profits and I really needed to jump on the team to help them ultimately.
Yeah.
Which me, man, I never bash anybody, man. If I'm full, one of the other trainers that was there, Kelsey, I would have totally sent people her way. Absolutely. Hey, I'm full, but I think Kelsey has some openings. She's one of the level 2 trainers. She's great. So I didn't really understand the I'm hurting your business model. That didn't really make sense to me. So I was given an offer. Mm-hmm. It was laughable for a for-profit gym. Being a fitness director, it was laughable. They basically wanted me to add 20 hours to my week for $20,000 less a year. And I'm like, no.
Yeah, that math ain't mathin'.
That math ain't mathin'. And so yeah, I got that offer on a Saturday, which actually the written offer that I got was actually worse than the initial offer that I got. It was $10,000 less. And hey, you can go back to teaching classes again. And I'm like, no, I'm not. This ain't my first year. This ain't my first rodeo. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I'm established.
I don't need to do that anymore. And nothing against class-based trainers. It's just not for me and how I actually train. It's just not for me. Mm-hmm. So I negotiated this facility in one day. I got on the phone. My mother-in-law is a realtor, and I negotiated. She got me in link with a commercial real estate guy to look over the contract to make sure I wasn't getting screwed or anything. And he said the contract looked good. So I head forward in, man. I started figuring out how to order equipment and what was the timeline on those things. I think I was on the phone with Titan for 6 hours. 2 separate times, just trying to figure out where my machines were and all that kind of stuff. But I was still training at the previous gym while I was doing that. So I was going there in the morning from about 5 to 10 a.m. coming straight here, painting, cleaning, doing floor till about noon. Then I go home, shower, eat, go back to the gym, train my evening clients, come back here at night and continue doing the same thing. I did that for 30 days.
You were still getting your own workout in.
Still doing my own workouts. Yep. Still trying to focus on nutrition, but I will be the first to tell you, everybody has a emotional connection to food. For me, when I'm stressed, I don't eat because my brain is going 1,000 miles an hour, and it's not that I even forget to eat. It's just I don't. Yeah. I just focus and dial in. It's not there. So I tried to stay on top of things as much as I could, but definitely that was a stressful month, but we accomplished it. I was able to open up right when I said I was going to. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of one of those people, I had one client tell me, man, you only got 30 days, are you going to be able to do it? I don't think you can do it.
Challenge accepted.
And I said, challenge accepted, fucking watch. April 1st, I'll be open.
Yep.
And April 1st, I was open.
Yep. And I think I was in here April 2nd.
And you were in here April 2nd. So, it definitely was a hard road. But, I wouldn't trade it for anything, man. Like, I got a good support system. My wife is cool as shit when it comes to stuff like this. Like, I sat down with my wife and I verbatim looked at her. I said, this is the offer that's on the table, but I think I want to do this. But if you think I should take this offer, I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do it. I'll man up, and I'll do it. And she looked at me, Jeff, and she said, no, absolutely not. You're worth more than that. And that was it for me, man. Put your head down, go to work.
She's your biggest cheerleader, dude.
Yeah, and she's been great. So, I mean, I can't imagine. I could have done it on my own, but I would not have forcibly taken the steps without her.
Yeah. Yeah, no, she's the one that's keeping you going, right? Like, especially during that 30 days, she was your emotional support. She was everything that you needed during that time.
Oh, man, she was everything. She was in here laying floor, cleaning stuff. Yep. I mean, she was YouTube videoing how to get, like, certain kind of bleach fish tank stains. My gym was a fish tank place before I got in here, so there was plenty of saltwater damage to the building. So no, we got it all fixed up, man, and it ended up working out great.
Yeah, and that's led us to, once again, fast forward almost 2 years later.
Yep.
We talked a little bit about what's in the future for Chad, and how you see Konquer Fit growing.
Yeah.
Right. So, how do you not let up? What's driving you?
I think it's all internal, man. Like, I have this thing in my brain, and I don't know how to describe it, but when I tell myself go, it's only go.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's tunnel vision almost. Like, there's no left, right turns. It's just go. It's put your head down and go. And I won't lie and say that there hasn't been times where, let's say, I gotten a little lazy.
Mm-hmm.
My days are long, man. Like, I'm splitting my day in two. I'm up at 4 a.m. I'm here till any time between like 10 and noon. And, that's with getting my workout in, servicing my clients, cleaning up the building a little bit, then going home, eating lunch, taking a shower, maybe taking a nap for a half an hour.
Yeah.
And then jumping back in the mix again and, doing 3, 4, 5 more client appointments until 7, 8 o'clock at night. Going home, eating dinner, and then doing it all over again.
Yep.
But, I just need to keep going, man. I really want this to succeed, and I'd love to say it's just because it's a passion of mine, man, but I love to see people succeed.
Yeah.
And I like the group that I've created around me with my clients, because I get to pick and choose who I work with, obviously. Mm-hmm. And I'm constantly reminded of how lucky I am to be training the people that I am, and to have an established reputation. And I try to uphold that reputation.
Yeah, and I mean, it's okay to say luck, right? But you have to realize you got to take credit for yourself.
Sure.
Right? Yeah, luck, sure. Does luck play a part of it? Absolutely. But for the people that are here and the people that want to train underneath you, it's not luck. They're doing it because they believe in what you're telling them, right? They're seeing the results. So
I think they know I'm not selling them on bullshit.
Yeah, you got to take credit for what you are doing, right? Like,
I'm working on that.
Yeah. So there's another question I wanted to ask you, and we kind of covered your background a little bit, which was the main topic of the podcast.
Yep. Well, listen to us.
We're in the middle. We're actually towards the end of December. We got 7 days till Christmas, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
This is the time of year where it's gloomy. People can't get outside.
Yep.
And you have folks that maybe they don't have a gym membership, maybe they're used to just walking outside, getting that vitamin D, but now they're struggling, right? And this is where we see a lot of seasonal depression, things like that.
Yep. Especially here in the Midwest.
And like we're in Iowa, right? We either get a little bit of snow and a lot of ice, a little bit of ice, a lot of snow, but we always get the cold.
We always get the cold.
Right? We get cold and wind. So, what message are you telling folks, hey, it's wintertime. I know it's hard. You can't get your steps in all the time. How are you gearing them up for success at this time of year?
Stay moving, right? I don't know who said it, but, it's this phrase of stagnation is death.
Mm-hmm.
When we stop moving, that's death. Movement is life. So I tell them, like, it's a discipline of doing it when you don't feel like it. And, the hardest part of working out and being physically active and fit and healthy, the hardest part of the workout part is just getting there.
Yeah.
Once you're at the gym, you got to do something. You're there.
It's easy.
But the hardest part is like, man, it's 20 below zero outside. My joints hurt because it's cold. I'm stiff. Like, I don't want to go anywhere. I just want to sit under this blanket and chill.
Yep.
And I just implore them, like, guys, just get up. I promise you. Once you get here, your mood will change, right? And again, that's how we facilitate the mood part of it too, right? You get those endorphins going and you get some blood pumping a little bit, your mood improves.
Yeah.
So it helps stave off kind of some of that negative aspect of having gray skies for 3 months. So I just encourage them, just stay active. And if you need help with that, reach out.
Yeah.
I'll get you here. But we gotta stay active. Like, I don't want anybody, staying home for the winter and then come springtime say, all right, I'm ready to get back into it.
Yeah.
Well,
that gets into that cyclical cycle, right? So it's like we talk about all the time. People that struggle with their diet, right?
Yeah.
Their lifestyle. Well, same thing with their fitness, right? If I take off December, January, February because it's dark outside, it's gloomy, I'll pick it back up in March.
Yeah.
Why?
And then you lost all that ground.
Yeah.
So I just try to tell them, like, hey, let's just not lose any ground. Even if we got to back off a hair, because of the weather. We've had snowstorms so bad here you can't go nowhere.
Yeah.
And that happens. Luckily, we haven't had that this year. But yeah, I just try to keep everybody moving, man. Like, anything is doable if you put your mind to it. And I'm here to not only be their guide, but to re-solidify that they're making the right choices and right decisions by coming in and doing it anyway.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a great message. And I look at my case, right? Like, we talked about this last week. I just got the okay to lift a little bit more weight. Now,
yeah,
I can go up to 45-pound barbell, which I tell you right now, if I'm benching a 45-pound barbell and you're next to me and you're benching 405, I'm gonna be talking crap because I feel great.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I was.
You're gonna take the W.
Yeah. Earlier this week, I got underneath the 45-pound barbell, and I sat up, and Chad's looking at me, and I got the biggest smile on my face. I felt like I had a tear coming down my eye because I didn't think I'd be back to this point yet. Right.
Yeah.
And so, like, you're absolutely right, man. Just get moving, right? And don't take it for granted because, like I said, I'm finally to a point where I can move something, right?
Yeah. And checking in on you and where you're at in your rehab.
Yeah.
I think, the biggest thing I've been reiterating to you is focus on the form. It's not a lot of weight. We know you can push the weight, but focus on dialing in the form, right? Because we can make any weight difficult.
Absolutely.
And what have you learned in, let's say, the last 3 weeks? We just talked about this about your bench press the other day, and that's why I bring it up.
There's a lot, right? And so I always felt like I had a decent bench press as far as moving the weight.
Yeah,
right.
As far as form was concerned.
As far as form, it wasn't the greatest, and that's maybe what's led to a few of my injuries, right? So, dialing it back, and before this, probably last week, I'd only been using some resistant bands and some dumbbells.
Yep.
And I mocked up my own thing with one of the bars out there that weighs about 15 pounds and doing a bench that way. But I was finally able to get back underneath a real barbell, right? And so it was, and I realized feet placement was crap.
Yep.
Right? There was no leg drive. I had no core strength whatsoever, right?
Yep.
And so even over the last probably 2 weeks, being under a barbell, it was, just getting that motion down.
Yeah.
And like, it just felt great. And I'll be the first one to tell you, I've always had shoulder pain when I've bench pressed, right?
Sure.
It's because probably my form is shit,
Yeah, probably some lack of external rotation and some other things.
But this has been the first time in probably 4 years where even the barbell didn't hurt a shoulder, right?
Yeah.
And like, it just felt smooth and something just clicked. So, it was the breathing, it was the placement, it was keeping the elbows, it was the drive. And like I said, if you had been next to me benching a world record weight, I'd have sat up same time you, and I'd have been like, pussy.
Yeah.
Right? Because like,
exactly.
I felt that great. Like, it just.
But that's what it should be, right?
Yeah. And that it just transitioned. So I'm still at a relatively high restriction, right? I can't go crazy, but
we know what's coming.
Yeah,
we know that your restrictions are not permanent.
No, and so the main focus for me right now is on some of these other exercises. I'm pushing a little bit of weight. Right?
Yeah.
Nothing that would put me at risk of an injury.
Sure.
But my main focus right now is just that form.
Absolutely.
Right? Because
as it should be.
When I get the go ahead, I know that adding that weight, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Right. And if we just think about and we're just going to talk about bench press, right? If I think about just adding 135 pounds, right, or adding 245s,
yeah,
one on each side, that I don't know that I'm going to be able to bench that for a set of 10, right? Because
Sure.
I've lost a lot. But
Yeah.
if I can start off with, 55, 65, 75 and work my way up to where I don't have the pain,
Yeah.
the form is great, the breathing's there, feet, dude, I'm gonna be ecstatic. Because
Yeah.
I know
You're going to be doing backflips.
Yeah, I know that if I don't try to blow it out of the water and I do it right, come next winter, I'll be back to a point where I feel good about the weight that's on the bar.
Sure.
Right?
Absolutely.
And that's the end goal for me. The end goal for me is to...
Time and structure.
Yeah, I want to make sure that I'm not screwing the back up again. I don't want to hurt something else because I'm being overprotective of something else or, I'm not focusing. So, I don't know, man. I'm just looking forward to continuing the journey. And if someone's out there and they're struggling with kind of what I'm doing, you're a great person to reach out to.
I appreciate that.
Right? Like,
I appreciate that.
We drop our links down below. Chad's got Konquer Fit in the description. Reach out to the guy because for me, if I was not here and I was back where I was before at a different gym with nobody helping me through this, who knows?
Yeah,
right? Like
your mentality would be, I think, totally different.
Yeah,
I think it would be, things like this can get you down and get you
and it
kind of
did.
trapped in your head and.
you saw it firsthand, right? Like,
I did, man. I saw it, and me and your wife had conversations,
Yep.
like
I was still being operated on.
yeah,
Right? She's texting you like, hey, I really need you to get him focused because he's going to come out of this and he's going to be in a very bad spot mentally.
yeah,
And honestly, I was.
yeah,
Like, I was not in a good spot. And, we won't talk about that word that gets you banned on YouTube. But I can tell you, I had thoughts in my head that just were not healthy. And if it weren't for Chad, my wife, and, like, my gym family.
yeah.
Like,
Because I had people reach out to you,
Oh, yeah.
and
yeah, and so, like,
people would ask for your number and say, "Hey, can I text him?" Absolutely, text him.
yeah, no, my gym family, the Konquer Fit family, definitely took care of me. And it allowed me to. I still had, I was still in a dark spot, but it allowed me to at least see a little bit of a light at the end of that tunnel.
Yeah,
And it allowed that light to come quicker,
yeah.
right?
And I think that's what's happened now. I mean, I've seen, like you said, benching 55 pounds. Like, I've never seen you more elated to be like
Oh, dude,
in the gym. Like,
Yeah.
you're kind of like got this hop, and I'm like, you good, man? You're like, yeah, just bench 55 pounds, man. I'm solid.
My form was great. It
Form
didn't
was
hurt.
good. Didn't hurt.
Lightweight, baby.
Lightweight. All right, man. So we touched on why listen to us, right?
Yeah.
I think we're trying to gear ourselves to be the podcast for the average guy, for the average gal, for the person that's just trying to live their life just that much better.
Yeah.
Right?
And just be genuine.
And think about that, what's coming up, right? We're 2 weeks away from a new year.
Mm-hmm.
And, with the new year comes the new year, new me mentality. And I would say, just to kind of final thought this thing, instead of thinking about new year, new me, think about new year, better me. Because you're the same you. You're not going to automatically become a butterfly. Like, we don't, shed a skin and become something else.
Yeah.
But focus on being 1% better this next year, and start the year off right, and whatever that means for you. That doesn't necessarily mean January 1st, January 2nd, you just dive right in.
Yeah.
Maybe it takes you a couple weeks, but think about just being just that much better than you were last year. And, we talk about 8-week challenges and stuff like that. And I started thinking about that methodology and, even just doing a jump off to January, like, hey, let's get you in on something.
Yeah.
But then at the end of that, let's talk about what's next. Let's talk about how we keep you going and keep you moving.
Continue your progress.
Let's continue the progress, and let's not just focus on, the 8 weeks were great. I lost 10 pounds and I feel good, but now I'm just not going to do anything. I'm going to have a gym membership but never go. And, and I think setting up programs to that facet will be good, So I'm trying to, come up with something and figure something out there as well. So, people look out for that. I'm definitely going to try to help bridge that gap of this new year, new me mentality and this 8-week challenge thing, and not necessarily reinvent the wheel, but maybe give us some extra spokes to the wheel so that it doesn't fall off.
Absolutely, dude.
So with that, we will wrap up episode 3. Make sure you guys check out those links at the bottom where you can find me and Jeff. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook. And if you need any help, please reach out. With that being said, just don't die.
Just don't suck.
Have a great day, guys, and we'll see you next time.